Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are solving another puzzle. Today's puzzle is the level 4 Hanayama Twist puzzle. Now that is a level 4 out of a possible 6 on Hanayama's difficulty scale, which means this could be super hard on our leaderboard or super low on our leaderboard when it comes to the end. We've got the hardest level 4 that we've done is the UFO, all the way in fourth, at the top in 4th position, and then we've got some low down level 4s as well on the bottom row in the coil puzzle. Now at first glance, the twist puzzle doesn't look that hard. There is literally just 2 pieces that look like they just connect like this, but yeah, how hard can it be to separate 2 pieces that look pretty much the same? Although I did think that going into solving the Baroque puzzle, and the amount of moves that the Baroque puzzle has in its solution was quite incredible. One of my favourite ones done so far, in fact. So maybe the twist puzzle is going to live up to a similar hype as the Baroque. There's only one way to find out though, and as always we will be aiming to separate the puzzle, we'll be aiming to then reassemble it back into its original position, and then we will place it on our leaderboard of hardest puzzle to easiest puzzles done so far. Okay, so here is the twist puzzle. As I said, it's just 2 pieces that seem to me like they should separate quite easily. Now, they're not separating this way, but they do seem to be going together here. Ah, okay. It's fairly stiff getting it to this position, but I think what we're going to have to do is, using these grooves, we're going to have to turn them around somehow. So we possibly turn the silver one around and then slide it off the edge of the gold one, or do the opposite with the gold one. Turn it around and then slide it off this way. So we got some annoying bits. Ah, okay, I see. So I was wondering what all these grooves here are for. And all over both pieces. And I've just spotted what they are for, because just in here, in the inner circle of that silver piece, there is a knobbly bit. Let's try and get it in a position where you can see it. So just in there, just on the inside of there is a knobbly bit, and to move these pieces around, those knobbly bits have to go through those grooves. And there is a knobbly bit on this gold piece as well, just inside there. So it's like a maze. We have to guide those knobbly bits around so we can separate the puzzles from the other pieces from there. Okay, that's good. So we've identified how we do this one, which is very important. And on the back of the box, what does it say? Because we always get a clue in what it says. Using the grooves, slide the protrusions. I should have read this before. And attempt to complete this very complicated puzzle. The asymmetrical design will mesmerize you and bewilder your memory. The movement is definitely a twist. And the theme for this puzzle is tangle. Okay, so we're gonna go with some trial and error and just try and. That was a nice move though. So we've twisted one piece around. That was a very, very nice move. Now I'm guessing I have to do the same, because we can't just slide that silver piece off the gold piece, which I said just now, which I said we might be able to do just now, but we're probably going to have to get each end on each end. So we've twisted one bit around. Can we now get them on end? This is close. We're back where we started. That's not good. it's hard to sort of see which groove is going to be like the last groove, if that makes sense. But I'm finding it easier to spot the different ways of traveling now. So it's almost like you focus on one and try and get it down that groove, and if it does go, then brilliant. And then you sort of focus on the other groove, the other sort of knobbly bits going through the grooves. Going backwards and forwards seems to be quite straightforward in terms of, or not straightforward, but it seems to be the way to go about solving this one. Seeing which groove is sort of like the last one that you're trying to aim for. Because at the minute I'm just sort of going around, sort of, yeah, just trying to find any way. Well, yeah, trial and error, I guess. And we're back where we started again. Here seems to be like a halfway point getting to here, because all of the points, you're not really free to move each piece. So I feel like if this is possibly a halfway point where you get to come off a certain track and then get on to another one, because the other ones you can't really stop and sort of jump from here to here, whereas this one we've sort of gotten back to this position here, and then maybe we rejoin on a different track that we didn't have access to before, if that makes sense. And I've noticed that at the minute we can't really get back to these behind each piece, to those cross parts, so I'm trying to get there at the minute. Although we have just got here now for the first time. I think it's for the first time anyway, it's hard to keep track sometimes. So now I think we've swapped the pieces over. So I think it was the silver one inside the gold one, whereas now it's the gold one inside the silver one. Maybe this is, well, not another halfway point, but maybe a third point. That's the second, or the 2/3 point. So we might have just gone backwards. If I'm right in my memory of silver one inside gold one, or gold inside silver one. It's hard to keep track of where everything's been and where everything wants to go. Now I think I've just resorted to moving it wherever I can possibly take it, rather than trying to. Oh my god! After all that talking, I've done it. Hey. Oh. Have I done it? Is that not it? Surely that's it. How does this separate if it doesn't separate here? See, now I don't know of the different positions that we've been in, where obviously the original position is obviously the starting position, but then positions, I can't get it to it. Ah, there we go. So this position where we've got the silver circle on the inside of the gold circle, if that makes sense, or so that we're facing out of the gold. I don't know whether that is further or the same or behind the opposite position, where the silver one is sort of the one facing out and we have the gold gap inside the silver circle. And then we did get to a position which I thought was the last position, end on end, and I don't know whether that was the sort of the furthest position that we've been so far, or whether all those three positions are sort of equal, whether none of them are actually showing progress and it's just they're just three possible positions, as well as the sort of the final separating position is, if that makes sense. Now I thought I'd figured out that if we get them end on end, we'll be able to separate them. But that is not the case. I don't know where the final position is. So based on the order in which I got to those 3 positions, I'm going to assume that that order was the right order. And in terms of getting them end on end is the closest I have been to separating these 2 pieces so far. Getting back there is proving to be hard because I don't remember how it happened. Right, so here's where I've been aiming for the last, what, 5-10 minutes. So I think I do remember the move that gets us end on end. I think we go down here, yeah. Right, where do we go from here? We came off this bit here, but I can't get to any of these other grooves from there. It definitely doesn't separate from there. Oh. Oh. That's different to the starting position. Hey. So I thought that was the separating bit, but it's clearly not. But we can. I really hope this is a different position to that first position. I'm sure it is because we couldn't pull out to there from that original position. So we slide through. Right, do we just reverse now what we've done? Essentially. So maybe this is the halfway point. I'm just going to go at it with the same attitude I did before, which was just move it around and try and get to various different positions and see where we end up. It. Oh, finally. Wow. That's a very impressive puzzle. Very impressive. There's lots of different the routine for that I imagine is going to be extremely long, even sort of like the most efficient one, which definitely I did not follow after what, 45-50 minutes of trying to get that apart. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting task finding the best solution through that, but that was well above expectations in terms of difficulty and in terms of satisfaction. I'm very happy with that one. Yeah, now we just need to put it back together. So now to put it back together. Now obviously this part matters. It must be that way around. And it must be just that little half sort of stopping groove there. Brilliant. Right, let's crack on with reassembling these. Yes, there we go. Once I did the crossover bit, I was actually quite familiar with those moves, but that is extremely tough, but brilliant at the same time. Love that one. That was very challenging, both to take it apart and to put it back together. And again, for just 2 pieces, the complexity in it is genius. But that is the twist puzzle done, and yeah, time to place it on the leaderboard. So there it is. We managed eventually to solve the twist puzzle. I say this a lot, but it was a lot harder than I expected going into it, and how 2 pieces can have such a complicated and long-winded solution to separating them and then reassembling them is absolutely beyond me. The design and the genius that goes into designing something like the twist puzzle is absolutely insane. I got myself stuck quite a few times, but it's always comes back to knowing how it will eventually separate and then working backwards from there. Now, we did have the right idea, but it was just when we got to this position instead of this position, it doesn't come apart. You have to go all the way through, pass it through, and then essentially do the same thing again to then eventually separate them, if that makes sense. And the amount of variance in the positions that you can be is also insane. There's so many options. And I don't know the puzzle that well just yet, but I'm fairly sure there's a few very, very slight, slick little twists, for lack of a better term, or moves that get you up to the next stage in its routine of separating. If you look very, very closely at a few of the grooves that you're twisting around, there's a few that are very hard to spot, and it changes the direction very, very slightly, but very importantly in the right direction. So I'm very much looking forward to figuring out the best way to actually separate in those 2 pieces, and then obviously the reverse of that, the best way to put them back together. I feel like it will take quite a long time to figure that out. But anyway, as brilliant as the twist is and as hard as it is, now let's quantify how hard it is in comparison to all the puzzles that we've done so far. Now, I've already had to think about this, and I'm fairly sure it's going to be in one of 3 places, and all those 3 places are around the same position as the previous puzzle that we did, which was the U and U puzzle. So we're looking, if you didn't already know, we've got the hardest puzzle up here, we've got the easiest puzzle up here, and we work left to right going up in terms of the order. And we're starting around here. Now, firstly, we're going to start off, is the twist puzzle harder than the nutcase puzzle? It is. Is it harder than the infinity puzzle? Yes, it is, in my opinion. Is it harder than the dial? Now, here's where I'm stuck in terms of deciding where it's gonna sit. It's either gonna be around the dial, or here, here, or here. It's not harder than the U and U puzzle, which is the last one that we did. Just can't decide whether it's harder or easier than the dial, and harder or easier than the H and H puzzle. I'm gonna say, because of the dial's sort of trick play, if you like, where if you don't get past that first little notch on the dial, it's impossible to separate. I'm gonna say that the twist puzzle is easier than the dial. Now, they are both actually ranked the same according to Hanayama. They are both level 4s. But we are jumping straight above 2 level 6s in the nutcase and the infinity puzzle. But yeah, we're gonna sit in between the infinity puzzle and the dial puzzle. So there it is. We are on the cusp of solving our 40th puzzle. That one was the 39th that we've done so far. Next one is the big 4-0. Guess it's a milestone of some sort. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree with that rating. I find this area of puzzles very hard to distinguish as to which one's harder, which one's easier. I seem to change my mind every week when I'm sort of looking back and going, well, maybe the H and H is actually easier than the dial, maybe this is harder than this one. It's tough because these ones are all very, very tough puzzles, but very different in their solutions. So I feel like it almost depends on your personal preferences or my personal preferences as to where you rank these ones. The harder ones I find easier to rank, and same with the easier ones, but it's this sort of middle gap here that is, I could change my mind every week if I really needed to or really wanted to. But anyway, thank you very much for being here. If you want to see me solve more of these Hanayama puzzles and the step-by-step solutions to each and every one of them, then click my face here to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace!